Welcome to DHub MT YouTube channel podcast brought to you by the European Digital Innovation Hub powered by MDIA, Malta Digital Innovation Authority. Today we have with us Professor Alexei Dingli, who holds the prestigious position of a full professor in the field of artificial intelligence at the Faculty of ICT at the University of Malta. Boasting an impressive tenure of over 25 years, he has solidified his reputation as a foremost authority in the realm of AI. Beyond his commitment to the University of Malta, Professor Dingli has also held the esteemed position of visiting professor at various other academic institutions. We welcome you, Professor Dingli.
Thank you very much.
What has brought you to here from obviously a vast experience in different sectors? Today you hold this position and obviously it is something you touch on a daily basis, AI in the industry.
Mm-hmm.
What brought you to here?
Okay, all right, Pauline. So essentially I was very much always into technology. Really and truly, when I was younger, I had sort of two career choices. It was either technology or it was the arts. But of course, you know, at the time I did a strategic move and I said, let's go for technology because probably I'll earn a living with that. Yes, I still love the art. So you know, it's a little bit a mix of both. Luckily for me as well, I think it was an exciting time where the personal computer was coming into the homes, the gaming computers. So you know, it was exciting. I mean, our field is quite exciting on its own. When I went to university here in Malta, I started the computer science degree. At the time it was a BSc IT, but we also had the option of doing AI as well. And I think that is where really I got attracted to AI. And really and truly, my love for AI comes more from the movies as well, no? Because you tend to see science fiction movies, robots, even maybe you read books about science fiction, and that sets you thinking about what's in store for the future and what I can do with these technologies.
And how do they do it?
Yes, exactly. But that's the, you know, the challenging part of it. So you see something, you say, wow, that's cool. Can I try it? And I try it. Doesn't mean I manage 100%, but you know, a 60% in something cool is still very cool. So that's why I'm attracted to this field of study.
When it comes to AI in the industry, the function of it, how can these tools help both society and the industry to be more efficient and effectively? How can this be achieved?
Okay, so AI is a very horizontal field of study. So this means that, you know, it can be applied practically to anything. I mean, just think about any field and you can apply some sort of AI to it. Now, when it comes to industry, it has huge applications. First of all, it's the part which we call automation. So you have a machine and you have people today doing specific tasks on this machine, but these people, or rather their task, can probably automate it using machines. Now, of course, you might tell me, but what about those people? No, that's a very big concern, and we have to take care of that. But there's also health benefits associated to it. It's like recently I was visiting a large company, and this company had people to actually do quality control on micro components. So you know, spending a whole day looking through a microscope at this microscopic component, it's very tiring and definitely unhealthy for people. When this can be replaced, or most of it taken over by an AI. So there are the pros and cons of having something like that. Apart from that, keep in mind that since we're talking about machines, AI can offer an unprecedented level of control over these machines. I had a project a few years back regarding the controlling of around 400 machines. So can you imagine this floor full of machines giving us streams of information, and then you have a sort of an AI brain controlling all of them, or at least checking, you know, that they don't fail or something happens to them. So there are huge benefits, which of course, you know, you can't do with humans.
When I hear you talk, and obviously, and I hear about these tools, I automatically think of security, privacy. How can all this impact the employment sector, and as we said, the privacy and the security? Are there any potential dangers of AI application?
Yes, there are many potential dangers. What we have to keep in mind, Pauline, is that AI is a tool, and like each and every tool, it can be used for positive applications, but also for negative applications. Okay, when it comes to privacy data, especially of people, there are very, very big concerns. And we've seen it already. If you remember, a few years back, we had the case of Cambridge Analytica. So this company essentially was collecting data from Facebook, which was public data to a certain extent, and then using that data to manipulate people in their choices when it comes to elections, for example. So we know that the elections in the United States regarding Trump were somehow affected by these technologies. Same goes for Brexit. So the votes in Brexit were affected by these technologies. So when technology is used to manipulate people, that is where the problems arise. Now, at this stage, I believe that we are on another, let's say, grasp of these technologies because we have what we call generative AI. So what is generative AI? Most people would refer to it as ChatGPT, okay? I'm sure a lot of people heard about it. But that's just one of many technologies. Now, my concern is the following. Next year we have, for example, the European elections and the local elections as well in Malta. So imagine if you have a group of people decided to somehow influence those elections. And we know that this happens. These are called content farms. So there would be these buildings, which we call farms, of people creating fake news, fake content. And the idea is to divert the thoughts of people or mix them up. Now, in the past, you would have people that would write an article, maybe, I don't know, 15 minutes, then go to Photoshop, take another 15 minutes, draw something, and post it online. So in half an hour, you would have a fake news article, right? Now, with generative AI, so ChatGPT, Midjourney that does the images, and many other technologies, in a matter of a second, you can have your fake news article, and you just post it online. So you can imagine the tsunami of fake news that's coming towards us. And this is my biggest concern, because, you know, if we don't stop it, next year and the following years, we'll be in a very, very, very bad situation.
We're going to need an AI to correct the AI.
Yes. In fact, it's happening. Like if you take, for example, cybersecurity, so, you know, cyber threats, people would normally refer to as viruses, these sort of attacks. No, the newest form of attacks use AI because they're much more effective than the traditional ones. And of course, to counteract those, you need AI to counteract those evil AI, let's call them like that.
If we had to say, what ethical considerations should one also consider when developing and deploying an AI application? Because as you said, it's a tool, it can be used in a very wrong manner with all its positives, because obviously this is positive,
of course,
and we can't shy away from, and it has multiple effects and things that we need. But how can we use ethical behavior even towards creating AI applications?
I think there are two aspects of this question. One is when you do it intentionally, and one when you do it unintentionally, okay? The intentional part is probably the easiest, no? Because, you know, most people wouldn't try to do something intention like that. So it's very important to check your data, how you're collecting it, that you're collecting the right data, that you have permissions, but with a little bit, you know, of extra care. I think you manage to solve that part. The problem is when you do it unintentionally, and there have been cases when this has been done unintentionally. Let me tell you a case in point. So Amazon, we all know Amazon now, it's a large company. They employ hundreds of thousands of people. So Amazon decided one fine day to create an AI to shortlist CVs received for vacancies at Amazon. So the engineers at Amazon started creating the code. They created this AI system, which worked pretty well. It was quite high, 80–90% accuracy. So, you know, it was pretty good. And they gave it to the HR department to start using it. When they started using it, they realized that the AI was automatically selecting males and rejecting females. Okay? Now, that means that the AI had a bias, we call it. So it's biased towards male rather than female. It wasn't intentional? It wasn't intentional, no, because they were quite surprised, when they got it. And they started analyzing, you know, why did it have this bias? Yes, what happened? So what happened was the following. The engineers decided that to train the AI, they needed good examples to show them who is a good employee for Amazon and who is not. Okay. And they said, listen, a good employee for Amazon is probably already working at Amazon, no? So let's use the CVs of everyone that works at Amazon and teach the AI that, listen, we want these kind of people, okay? Now, the problem is that Amazon is a tech company, and in all tech companies, or in most tech companies, 70% are male. So the AI learned the bias. The AI learned that if you want to be a good Amazon employee, you need to be male. So as you can see, that was unintentional, of course,
Okay.
but the consequences can be very, very, very great.
And in this case, it was also easy to identify what
Yes.
caused
Yes.
this difficulty.
Yes.
But not many cases would be like that.
No, 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 no. In fact, I can think of another case in the United States as well. There was an outbreak of pneumonia. So they decided to create a system to identify who should be recovered in hospital and who should be sent home, because they couldn't cope with the influx of patients. And they created the system, but when they gave it to the doctors, the system was deciding that if somebody has pneumonia and is also asthmatic, he should be sent home. And, you know, the doctors sort of started jumping. What is the system predicting? I mean, it's obviously not
It's a
good.
chaos.
Of course, because if you have pneumonia and you're asthmatic, it's a death sentence practically.
Exactly.
So they went back to the drawing board, but they couldn't figure out what was the problem. Then they rewrote the system using something else which is much more easier to understand. But when they wrote this new system, the rules in the system, which were generated by the AI, specifically said if the person has pneumonia and is asthmatic, he should be sent home. So, you know, they started scratching their heads and they were saying, what is going on here? I mean, they couldn't figure it out. Then they realized that the AI was not privy to certain amount of data, because the AI used historic data, so past data of what was happening. And in the past, somebody who had pneumonia and AI was immediately sent to intensive care and had a higher level of care than normal patients. That means that those kind of patients had a higher survival rate, but because they had a higher care. And the AI didn't know that, so it made this wrong conclusion. So I think this leads us to two things. One of them is that, you know, correlation is not causation. Just because the two things were correlated doesn't mean that one caused the other, as it was in this case. And the second one is the importance of the human in the loop. So if there wasn't the doctor, probably would have a lot of deaths today because of this wrong judgment of the system.
We are focusing on AI, but coincidentally, without you guests knowing, but obviously I loop from one to the other, so obviously I would know. In each and every podcast we do, the human element always comes through. And I think the way it's done is beautiful, which shows us how the two can work together, not one
Indeed.
to replace the
Yes,
other,
yes.
because to some it might come across that AI replaces humans.
No.
And it's not the case. I think
No.
it's about the two of them
Yes.
working together.
Exactly.
And obviously, I think that's the beauty of it. Because obviously this would be then the magical factor which gives
Yes.
the positive outlook.
I see it, Pauline, as the AI gives you superpower. No, now it depends how you use that superpower. Recently, even because of, you know, ChatGPT, etc., I've been talking to a lot of teachers. A lot of teachers are worried because, of course, everybody's using it now. So even their students,
They don't even know how to identify.
for homework, assignments, everything. And I'm telling them, listen, this is a superpower. Use it for good. Now, of course, we need to change because it's changing the way we used to do things. What used to happen in the past 20 years is not valid anymore. So it's time to change. But use AI as your tool to help you in this change.
What are potentially the long-term consequences of widespread adoption of AI technology, especially if it's not used correctly?
Okay. All right. So in general, AI, as we said, it's a technology. It depends how you use it, but it can bring a lot of positive things to society. So and in fact, you know, we are all dependent on AI. So a lot of people do not realize, and this came out as well from our survey. So as part of the Malta.ai national strategy, we had conducted a number of surveys. One of them specifically asked, how much AI tools do you use on a daily basis? And very few people put up their hand. But when you start explaining to them what they are, they realize that they don't just use them, they're dependent on them. So, you know, things like email, Facebook, Google Maps, air conditioners, even cars today, everything has some sort of AI, of course to different degrees, but still using a lot of AI. So AI is very much widespread, and it's widespread within society. But as we said, if used for the wrong reason, then it can have some negative consequences. One of them is, for example, and we're seeing it, AI in wars. So we've heard that in recent wars they've been using drones. So drones have been quite extensively used. But there have been some instances. One of them, for example, was in Libya, where a fully autonomous drone was actually used. So what happens is they send the drone to a particular area. The drone stays circulating on top. When he notices a target, then he goes down and explodes. So the decision is in the hand of the drone in that case. But there are other ways in which AI is going to be used, which is, let's say, much more common, and maybe we should take care of that. One of them is, for example, self-driving cars. And in fact, recently there was a case where a self-driving car actually hit a person. It actually went over that person and it didn't stop. And in fact, in California at the moment, for this particular company, they suspended the license to identify why it acted in that way. So the more we start living with AI, robotics, and these other technologies, the more we would have to face these issues. Mind you, in general, they're much more safer than normal alternatives. So a self-driving car is much more safer than a human driver. But still, we have to identify what are the issues and iron them out.
I think probably, and this obviously would conclude our topic today and our discussion today, I think this would be our way forward. Not in just creating something, but in also monitoring and identifying how can it be made better, and obviously how to avoid certain consequences.
Exactly.
Not just creating something and then leaving it there.
No, you can't. You can't. Because it could also be that, the circumstances change. So if you take self-driving cars, they have a collective intelligence of 60 years of driving. So imagine, Pauline, if somebody is driving for 60 straight years without sleeping, because they're always learning from the experiences of others. So it's not as if, I tested it once and it works fine. It's evolving as well, and the knowledge is evolving. So we need to constantly monitor these technologies, make them better, make them safer, and use them for good after all.
I would ask you for one last message to our viewers watching this podcast. What would it be?
Okay, so my message is that, listen, in the coming years, there will be a lot of changes. By 2030, something quite strange, let's say, will happen, or at least it's predicted to happen. So on one end, you will have a lot of jobs will be affected by automation. And on the other hand, we need specialized people, which we're not finding and we're not producing enough to fill these kind of jobs. So my appeal today is, one, don't be afraid of AI. Two, learn about AI. And three, now is the time for upskilling and reskilling to get the most benefits from the future that's coming towards us.
Perfect. Thank you, Prof. Alexei Dingli. That brings us to the end of today's podcast. The subject we spoke about was AI in the industry. Thank you to the European Digital Innovation Hub, also to MDIA, the Malta Digital Innovation Authority, for these podcasts. See you next time.